Hello and welcome to Reginald ESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the Tier 4 American light tank, the M5 Stuart. So is it any good? No, it's rubbish. And I'm surprised that I felt that way about it because the M5A1 Stuart, which is the Chinese version of this tank, I really liked. It's probably my favourite scout tank. But this is probably one of my least favourite tanks in World of Tanks altogether. So yeah, really didn't like it. And I'll talk more about a comparison with the M5A1 later. For now though, let's get into the review. It has 340 hit points, which is average for a Tier 4 light tank. The highest hit points goes to the Valentine 2, which is 380 hit points, and the lowest is the AMX 40 with just 300 hit points. Weighs in at between 15 to 16 tonne, which is a little bit above average. And speed-wise, it does 64 kilometers an hour in forward and 20 kilometers an hour in reverse, which makes it the equal second fastest tank, along with the M5A1 Stuart. The fastest being the A20 at 72 kilometers per hour. Now, there are a couple of tanks that are faster in reverse. The Keiho, Japanese tank, and the Lux both do 22 kilometers an hour in reverse. But 20 kilometers an hour is still pretty good. And the tank is fairly nippy, but it does lose a lot of its speed whilst it's turning, which is a real problem for a tank like this. It does have a good track traverse though of 42 degrees a second, which is about average, and should, you would think, make it really good at circling other tanks, but it's kind of not. It does, like I say, it does wipe a lot of speed off whilst turning. Now, the turret traverse of 46 degrees a second is also very good. And is just average for a Tier 4 light tank. They're all pretty nippy at this tier in that respect. The view range of 360 is above average and is pretty good. The only tank that has a better view range is the Panzer 38T. The Lux also has 360, and that's it. There's nothing else that's better. The worst in class would be the three Russian Tier 4 light tanks. They all have only 330 meters of view range, which really sucks when you're supposed to be a scout tank. So 360 is pretty good. Signal range of 641 is the equal best in class, so you won't have any trouble radioing back those tank positions to your teammates. Camouflage wise, this tank isn't the best because of its height. It is quite a high tank, even though it's quite short and stubby. And yeah, look, it's not the worst in Tier 4 light tanks. The AMX 40 is the worst by far, but then again, that's a pretty bad example. But it's close to being the next worst, and so it's below average camouflage really, which is a bit of a worry for a scout tank. It's not too bad at Tier 5, Tier 4, but once you start facing Tier 6 and 7 tanks, they do tend to spot you fairly easily. Now, the gun depression on this tank is excellent at 10 degrees of gun depression, also has 20 degrees of elevation, which is pretty good. The only tank that's better than that would be the Covenanter, that has 13 degrees of gun depression, which is sensational. And the worst in class is the T50 with only 5 degrees of gun depression. There are a couple of others that have 10 degrees, of course the M5A1 Stuart, the Chinese version, and the Keiho, Japanese tank, also has 10 degrees of gun depression, if you're looking for good scout tanks with gun depression. So let's see, what else can I tell you about this tank? Well, I won't get straight into comparison with the M5A1. First of all, let's have a look at the grind for this tank. So you start off with, so the tracks take your traverse from 40 to 42. The engine, of course, increases the horsepower you desperately need. It's worth getting the radio because, of course, the scout tank, you need a good radio. So that kind of leaves us to the guns and the turret. Well, let's have a look at the gun. The gun you start with is the gun you had on the M3 Stuart, your Tier 3 tank. And it's exactly the same in every respect, except that it has slightly worse accuracy. So it was 0.41 on the Tier 3 tank, and now on the Tier 4 it's 0.42, but everything else is the same. Same rate of fire, 26/09, which is quite fast, 56 penetration, and 40 damage. The 40 damage is awful. Now, even at Tier 2, the Tier 2 tank did 40 damage per shot. Here we are at Tier 4 in a scout tank, which faces up to Tier 7 tanks, and it still does 40 damage per shot. Big problem with that is it's not even enough damage to track tanks. I have shot tanks in the front wheel 5 times in a row and not been able to track them. So don't count on being able to track someone and then get their back, like a TD or something. You won't do it. Don't count on being able to track something out in the open so your friends can shoot it. Unless you're extremely lucky, you won't be able to track it. The .42 accuracy is of course terrible. 1.7 aiming time is awesome. Basically, this is a tier 2, tier 3 gun. Now, before the last patch, they used to have apparently a bit of a howitzer gun, but that's not around anymore. Now you get this gun. They've replaced it with this, which is an auto-loader version of the same gun. So it still has the same awful penetration, same awful damage, same awful accuracy, and great aiming time, but now it's an auto-loader. It has 5 shells in the magazine and fires a shell every 0.67 of a second. So around about a bit less than 2 shells a second. Now it takes 7.2 seconds to reload the magazine, and I absolutely hated this gun. Now I don't like this gun either because it's got terrible pen, and once you get to tier 5 and above, it's pretty tough to pen anything. But this gun I detested even more. Whilst it's okay at tier 4, and if you're playing players who aren't very experienced, you can kind of get away with it. But once you get an experienced player who realizes that, well, here's the thing. You press fire and it fires all 5 shells. You can't just fire one and then fire another one, or fire 2 at a time. It fires all 5 as soon as you've pushed the trigger, and that's it. So if you pop from a corner and fire the gun, and then they're looking at you, so you got to pop back again. You hit them with the first shot, then you pop back, and your next 4 just go into the wall, because you can't just stay out there and shoot because the guy's going to kill you. Or you fire, and when you do that, you fire at the guy, pop back, he then just counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and pops around the corner and has 7.2 seconds to shoot you before he pops back again. So anyone who knows the tank and knows the gun really plays on it, and when you get higher tiers, they just know. And I have in fact done it to other M5 Stuart drivers myself. So the gun is a disaster in my opinion. All right, so let's go back to the garage, and in the gameplay that I'm going to show you, my crew will all be about 95% trained. Like I say, I did fully train them and fit vents the tank just to make sure it wasn't the crew that was letting the tank down. But nah, it's just awful. So in the gameplay, I will have binoculars fitted, not actually the coated optics heavy, binoculars, camouflage net, and a toolkit, and I won't have vents fitted in the games I'm going to show you. And have small repair kit, large first aid kit fitted. And yeah, the crew will be around about 95%. Okay, let's have a look at Tank Compare and get into Tank Inspector and have a look at some gameplay. So here we are on Tank Compare, a program. You can just look up on the internet, just type Tank Compare into your browser and it should come up. Anyway, we're comparing the M5 Stuart on the left here, the USA version, with the Chinese version M5A1 Stuart here. So I've put in all the top equipment, so we're comparing like for like. You can see here, generally the tank's pretty much identical as far as top speed and signal range and hit points and all that sort of stuff. The crew, the American tank does have 5 crew versus the Chinese tank having 4 crew though. Now here's the real difference though between the tanks. The American tank has 350 hit points, but the Chinese has 400 hit points. Sorry, horsepower. That's a lot more horsepower for an engine to have, especially in a light tank like this. The American does have a little bit better track traverse, and the Chinese has better turret traverse, so a bit of a trade-off there. The one thing the American does have is 10 meters better view range than the Chinese tank, and that is a real advantage. But other than that, it suffers everywhere else, and this tank relies on its mobility and stealth to survive, and the Chinese just has so much better maneuverability. But also, if we look at terrain resistance here, you can see here that the Chinese has 11% or 12% better terrain resistance on hard terrain, about 11% better terrain resistance on medium terrain, and about 6% or 7% better on soft terrain as well. So not only does it have more engine power, it has better terrain resistance, and this is why the Chinese tank can circle other tanks really well, whereas the American tank struggles a little because it wipes off a lot of speed while it's turning, partly because of terrain resistance, but partly because it just doesn't have the engine power to maintain it. Now the M5A1 Stuart, also downhill, I've had it up over 80 kilometers an hour, whereas the M5 Stuart, about the highest ever been is about 72, 74. So it is faster and can go faster up hills, faster while circling. It's just a more manoeuvrable tank, and it does make a big difference at this tier. On top of that, the M5A1 Stuart has a gun that has about 80 penetration and does about 70 damage per shot, versus the American tank, which has, 58 pen with 40 damage per shot. The M5A1 Stuart will still struggle at tier 7, but when I used to play the M5A1 Stuart, I used to be up against tier 8 back then as well. Now scouts don't see tanks that high, and I still did double the damage in that tank than I've ever done in the M5. So yeah, the M5 Stuart in Tank Inspector. Now apparently the armor definitely was changed in patch 9.3, and it now has identical turret and armor to the Chinese tank. It used to have a different turret. Now, it also used to have another gun too. It used to have a howitzer gun as well as an option, and some people said that that worked really well in tier 4 and 5 games. But you don't have that gun anymore. Instead, they've put that terrible auto loader on it. That really is a terrible, terrible gun. Anyway, so the armor, let's get into it quickly. The lower section here, the lower plate, is 64, and it's actually not bad. You can bounce some shots off that if they happen to hit that bit while you're coming over a hill or something. Next to that is 38, not too good. Upper hull is 29, which is absolutely terrible. Front of the turret, this section here is 32mm of armor, and you won't really get any ricochets because of the size of the guns. People are shooting at you, it won't ricochet. The center area here is 45, and the mantlet area is 51, overlaying the 45 in parts. Close to the gun it goes just to the 51, but you will, or can and will, bounce some shots, the odd shot, off the mantlet, but that's about it. On the side of the tank it is 29, and the rear side of the tank is 25. It does have cutouts since the high definition model was done, so it is more susceptible to HE ammo shooting from the side. The rear is also 25mm, as the rear of the turret is 32mm. The top deck is 13mm. You don't expect much more than that in a light tank. It does have this little area here of spaced armor, we'll call it, which is a blue section here of 13mm. So it's probably a little bit, you're slightly protected from HE shots from this side on the turret. I believe it is where a machine gunner would stand if he was standing on the outside of the tank, because the machine gun is positioned just there. Alright, that's about all we have to say for the armor. This tank is a scout tank. It's basically a hide and try and spot people for the enemy. Don't bother shooting anyone if it's an above a tier 5. You won't do anything. Yeah, good luck.
Time to roll out.
Okay, so we're in the M5 Stuart, and it's about as bad a matchup as we're going to get. So it's a tier 7 game. The enemy has 3, 4, 5 tier 7 tanks, some tier 6s and some tier 5s, and we have a similar lineup, except that we also have a tier 4, which is me. So I'm the only tier 4 tank in the game, so it's about as bad as we can get. So I'm trying to take up initially a spotting position. Now I have a camouflage net and binoculars fitted, so I'm just trying to spot people as they come across. Hopefully my team is awake and starts blasting them as they're making their way across to the castle. So that guy should get hit any second now. No. Okay, there's the AMX. Now I can understand if they're not in position to shoot him yet. And this is about as good as you can do in a tier 7 game. You really can't. There's not much point in shooting any of these sort of tier 6, 7 tanks. Although I do shoot this ERC MX because that is one of the tanks I probably can pen. Although I'm not shooting at it very well, and the shots are just going to the dirt anyway. I have probably given away my position now, and I see this M6. Looks like I might still... No, that M6 shot at me, so I know he's got to reload, so I take my time to shoot the M4 and back off. And bounce off the M4 anyway, as expected. Now I've come back up again too soon. I don't think I really took long enough for my spot to disappear. Looks like I got away with it though. Okay, we actually put one into the ELC then, and whoa, we better back away now. Yay, we got a penetration. You can see we do a whopping 36 points of damage. Woohoo! If this is a tier 2 game, I'd be going, oh yeah, it's okay. We copped one then from the M6, and you can see there, if I can get this thing to work, he just clipped the top of our turret there. Bam! For 253 points of damage. Thank you very much. So my teammates are kind of dying around me, so I decide I can't go over that side of the hill anymore, and I think I'll just line up with this bush and come back this way and just try and do as much spotting as I can, give my team as much chance to shoot these guys as I can before I get overrun, because it looks like I'm about to be overrun. And I may actually have to run in a second. There's a Cheeto down there. I haven't got enough gun depression to hit him at the moment. These guys are getting too close for my liking. I see S35CA. See if maybe I can pin him. No. Oh yes, we did pin him with a second shot. So 34 points of damage. It probably wasn't worth it to give away my position, but hey. And I duck down the hill, avoiding the M6 firing at me. And we're on the run. Now I know there was a Cheeto over to my right, so I've got to be a little bit careful here. I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, geez, you know, it might be a shot to get arty here if I play my cards right. So I've kind of got that in the back of my mind. There's the Cheeto now. I need to be really careful. He's looking at me, so run, 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 run. Whew, behind the building. And I'm not going to move for some time. Oh, Nashorn is moving in front of me. Yay! Oh, 44 points of damage. A massive hit. 10% over damage. And he's not going to come out that last little bit. I'm thinking I can probably finish off this Nashorn and do a real service for my team. But that Cheeto is probably waiting for me. I'm going to chance it. Oh, I could have shot him there. Oh, he doesn't know I'm here. Yay! We got a kill! And it looks like the Cheeto wasn't looking at me at the time. There's a VK across a river. Jeez, I've got to be careful here. Alright, so I'm seeing now, I actually can't get a shot on the Cheeto, but there's an E25. Let's see, we're getting orange indicator. Green down the bottom. No. Show me green, although it is angled. Nah, 3 shots all bounced. Admittedly, it does have pretty good angles, the E25. The Cheeto's dead. The game is still pretty even at this stage. So I'm just trying to see now if I can spot that TD that was up there, but even though the view range is good for a tier 4 light tank, it's not very good against tier 7 tanks, and much more chance that they'll spot me way before I spot them. I don't know why I'm shooting. I think I'm just bored, so I'm shooting at this E25. So I'm thinking now we really need to start moving up and putting some pressure. We need to start spotting some more tanks for our team. More than just the E25. I might just speed this up a little bit here. So I'm not 2 times at the moment. And I'll just slow it down again to normal speed again now. So you can see there's a Jag Panther up here that's been spotted. And I just fire one at it for the hell of it. And there's the E25, so I better back off. He shoots at me and misses, fortunately. Does have good reverse speed, this tank. It needs it. So now I decide to go down low, and let's see if we can get up behind this Jag Panther. Maybe I can penetrate the back of it, or I'm thinking maybe I can track it from behind. Here we go, we're looking good. Watch out for the friendly KV-1. Oh, he's pointing this way, the Jag Panther. There's time to get away, but someone nails him from the back. Nice shot. T29 there. I don't know if we spotted it or not, but so now I'm heading back towards our base. This is a encounter battle, so they have to capture our base, and we've spotted Artie. So let's see if we can get Artie. And we bounce off Arden. And we get a kill! And oh, that's 2 kills! Woohoo! We've done a grand total of 170 points of damage so far. We are kicking butt. So now I'm moving up to this bush, a good little spotting bush this. And the IS has actually been spotted, so we'll see if we can help out with that. Am I silly enough to take a shot at an IS, the rear of an IS? Yes, I am. I am pretty silly. Now I can see the ELC AMX here, so I decided to put a bit more pressure on. See if we can do some passing shots. See if we can circle an AMX. He, after all, his gun does only point forwards.
We're done for. Everyone
Oh
get
dear.
out.
We're dead. Well, so is he. We probably got spotting damage for that one. So for a tier 7 game, that's about as good a game as I could have, I think. So you can see there, we actually did spot a lot of tanks, and we did a lot of spotting there. I've got a second screen just showing the last little bit. There's something below there that wouldn't fit on the screen. But anyway, we managed to get class 1 for that. We only did 170 damage, but we did 1231 spotting damage. And that's just the second screen showing the ELC AMX at the end there. So we did get spotting damage on that tank at the end, even though it cost us our life. So we actually finished 3rd on our team for XP, even though when you looked at the gameplay it looked pretty boring and didn't really do much. And but that's kind of how the tank is. Now this was rare though. This was a game where people actually shot what I spotted. Most of the time I spot tanks and I will have as many spots as you saw there, but maybe one of the tanks got damaged. And you know, I have games where I spend the whole game spotting and get, you know, 100 spotting damage. It sucks to be a scout, really it does. Anyway, so we fired 25 shots, 14 of those were direct hits. Of the 14, 6 of them penetrated, doing a total of 170 damage. Yeah. So we spotted 7 vehicles, damaged 4, destroyed 2, which was pretty funny. And we did 1231 spotting damage, which is not, it's not great, but it's about as good as I can get out of this tank at tier 7. And that gave us a whopping 688 XP, which is enough for a class 1 in this tank.
Let's get this show on the road.
Alright, so you've suffered through watching me try and scout in a tier 7 game. So what happens if you get the ultra rare tier 4 game where you're top tier? Well, at top tier you can do alright actually. In this case I've got the auto loader fitted and it actually behaves itself fairly well in this game. So I go right up here the back here. I don't want to get spotted possibly if I can, and I'm just going to drive up through the bushes to try and keep myself concealed for as long as possible. I've got a Lux moving up there, which is good. So yeah, because you can see anything from tier 4 to tier 7, you don't see a lot of tier 4 games. Probably out of the 88 games I've played, I reckon I've probably had about 5 of them have been tier 4 games. Do get quite a few tier 5 games though. Alright, so Chihei's been spotted. Now, this tank does not have any armor, so you do have to be a little bit careful. And here is our canopy.
Enemy armor is hit.
Now you can see there, fired 5 shots in a row, only the first one hit. We've been spotted, M2 medium shooting us, so I get back far enough now that he shouldn't be able to see me through those 2 layers of bushes. But you can see there when I fired at the other M5 Stuart, only the first shot hit, the others just missed, because it does lose its aim between shots. But we were quite lucky with the M2 medium there that I think 4 out of 5 shots hit, or 4 out of 5 penned anyway. It doesn't have any armor, that tank, so I think it's a tier 3. So since the other guys are spotting for me, I am staying back in a position where I don't have to
Enemy is hit.
worry too much. You see there, out of the 5 shots, only 1 penned, or not that many of them even hit.
Gotcha.
And the first first shot takes that Chihei out, which is good. And I guess using this 5-shot gun from this sort of position where no one can see you, it's not too bad. It's more whether you're behind, say, on the corner of a building and you pop out to shoot. Because you have to shoot 5 shots, they just end up, half of them go into a wall because you have to pull back after your first shot. And your opponent just times it and waits till you finish shooting and pops out and shoots you. So it's kind of a... I really didn't like this gun. I don't bother shooting at that DW2 because it's got 50 mils of armor all around, and with a penetration of 58 at this range, there's no way I'm going to pen. I have even been very close to tanks with like 40 mils of armor and had, you know, just multiple bounces. So it says 58 pen, but most of the time it's not. It won't even penetrate 50 mils or 40 mils of armor. Okay, let's see if we can sneak up on this M5 here. No, he's just behind the building. He might back out. I'll move up for a bit of a better shot here. I've got to be careful. I don't want to expose myself to the right because I know there is an enemy tank there. Just want to nudge in and have a look, and there it is. So you can see there the moving tank, because the 5 shots fire continuously. Oh, here we've got the back of the M5 Stuart. This would be good. So there is where the autoloader is good. When you've got someone in the back, you can put all 5 shots into them, they're not moving. But when you saw the Keiho there before, when it was moving, you've got to keep moving your gun, and the gun just keeps firing, and there's no accuracy because you're rotating your turret, it's losing fire between shots, you just can't hit anything. So for that sort of shooting, it's awful. You really need to have stationary targets. It's like that. I mean, what chance have I got at hitting the guy there? And see that? He just turns around and goes bang. He's got an accurate gun. Alright, let's see if we can get him now though. He's going to wander into my field of view. Okay, we managed to land a second shot on him that time. Alright, so we're doing okay. We've got 4 kills. I think one of them was a tier 4. M2 medium was a tier 3. KO's a tier 4, yep. And the Chihei is a tier 4 as well. So okay, that's alright then. I thought I was just beating up tier 3s, but some of those are tier 4s, so that's okay. So I knew that guy was down there, so I decided to come up and see if I get a shot at him, but my teammate finishes him off, which is good. Now I'm going to continue because I'm looking at the map there, and our team's pretty much been wiped out. There's only myself and this SU-76 remaining in the game. So we need to get in and defend cap here. Oops, so I need to get up to the next building. Now our tank just took care of the DW2, so great job from our TD there. Only he's just been owned. So I am now the last tank on our team. We managed to get our first 4 shots land on that. We managed to take him out. So I can't see anyone else near our cap at the moment. And they do have some very good TDs. And I'm thinking this isn't looking too good. So I want to come back from a different angle. I probably got spotted when I fired those shots. So I want to come back from a different angle. I decided to maybe just waiting here, seeing if they're trying to rush through this area or if I can spot anyone out in the open. But no one seems to be moving. And I make a mistake now. I decide to go right around the outside, which, considering I'm outnumbered 5 to 1, and all they have to do is cap to win, is probably a big mistake. I really should hang around near cap and just defend cap. I was just kind of worried that someone was going to sneak through this way and get me in the back, so I decided to be proactive and head out this way. But I think it was a big mistake. Anyway, I've decided to do it and I'm doing it. So now I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going pretty fast. They're not capping, so I might see if I can nab Artie in the back up here somewhere. get rid of Artie, and then try and get the other guys from behind. I might have more of a chance if I can sneak up on them from behind. So that's my plan about now. I might just speed this up a little bit to 2 times. Get the idea on driving around the outside. And I'm going to go to normal speed now. Now they have started capping, which is bad news for me. And I actually don't even know if I even noticed that they were capping at this stage. But I've spotted their Artie. And god damn it, he disappears just as I line him up. So I don't even know if any of those shots hit. Now I've spotted a key knee. Now the first 3 shots seem to have bounced, and then I think I realised, oh hang on a second, this guy's AFK. But I'm worried about artillery, because he was just up there. If he's turned around to face me, he can blow me up any second. This guy here is spotting me, so I'm trying to not stop much, but I've got to be able to hit the guy. Okay, now I'm going to keep moving. And now I realise it's too late to get back and reset cap. I decided to head up there, but it's just too late. So now I think, alright, I'm gone. I've lost the game. My bad. Okay, so I made a mistake and we lost the game, and I should have, yeah, hung around their cap. Anyway, it was a mastery game in the tank, and we did get a top gun, so hey, it's not all bad. Next screen, we finished on top for XP, and for... Did we actually finish on top for damage? Yes, we did, which is a rare thing in this tank. We fired 65 rounds, 32 of those hit, and of the 32 that hit, 26 were penetrations, doing a total of 883 damage. 76 of that was from a distance over 300 meters. Received 3 hits, all of which penetrated. The armor sucks. Enemy vehicles spotted 4. We damaged 6, destroying 7, and did about 140 assistance damage, not much. So yeah, not bad income. We got a little bit extra for courageous resistance, and XP wise 592, but for courageous resistance we got an extra 364, which brought it up to, it says 1912 there. That's obviously not right. So it's got to be 600. It's about 950, 960 was mastery in this tank. Alright. Thank you for watching my review of the M5 Stuart. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to Reginald ESQ. Have fun.